doing there? This is Chris. What I'm going to be going over right now is just the beginning basics of playing drums. If you wake up one day and say, I want to learn how to play drums, this is the very beginning stuff that you need to know, okay? What we're going to start with is simply how to hold the drumsticks, all right? This is your basic drumstick. This is the playing tip. This is the handle down here, the shoulder of the drumstick. You might hear me use those terms later on. So there you are, the tip, the shoulder. This is the shaft and the end of it, okay? Whenever you hold the drumstick, as far as where at on the stick, it's a matter of comfort, but usually whenever you put your hand on it, there's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch at the end. And that generally puts you right about in the middle of the drumstick. And you'll start to feel it as you start to play. If it feels like it's real top heavy, you might be holding it too low. If it feels like there's too much weight on the back end, you're shoving your hand up too high. But again, it's a matter of comfort. So after you play with it for a little bit, you'll see. Usually, like I said, I do about 3/4 of an inch to an inch of stick sticking out of the back end. Okay? The next thing we're going to look at is once you got your grip down, if you were to put your hands on the snare drum right here, the next thing you want to concentrate on is putting palms down. Okay? So when you're playing, it's going to look something like this. The reason we want to do that is because it gives us the best opportunity to control the drumstick, as well as keeps everything nice and powerful. Later on, you're going to see you won't hit little weak notes. You'll be able to really lay into it and control that drumstick, okay? And later on, once we start doing what's called diddles, which basically makes up a drum roll. You've heard that term, drum roll. If your hands were to, say, do this and shift up, which a lot of beginning drummers do, their body wants to suck the elbows in, turn the arm up. A big part of playing drums is using your fingers. So later on, when you start to do those rolls, you're going to be using your fingers. And when it's palms down, your fingers are in the correct position and they're being used properly, okay? If your hand begins to roll up, now your fingers are completely in the wrong position and there's no way to really use them to control the drumstick. Okay, so now that we got the stick, we're holding it in the right position and we want palms down, we're going to look at playing a note or stroking the snare drum. Okay? You basically want to start, get both hands pretty much at a 9-degree angle, so you're cutting the drum off basically a quarter piece of pie. Okay, so if you were to cut the snare drum into 4 pieces, you want that piece right there. Okay? Another important part of playing the drum is where you hit it. Okay? You don't want to hit dead center. As your ear develops, you'll start to hear that that's kind of a little bit of a dead spot, okay? You want to pull it back just a hair so you're playing just off the center of the snare drum. Okay, you can hear the slight difference. Okay, that applies to all the drums. So when you get to the tom, you don't want the dead center. You want it just off. For the floor. Okay? That way it allows your drums to ring and sound how they're supposed to sound instead of getting real choked off or real dry, dead tones. Okay? Alright, so now we got our sticks, we're holding them correctly, palms down, just off the center, and we're ready to hit a note. Okay? Whenever we're beginning, we're going to work on what's called the wrist down stroke, okay, which is basically you're not moving your arm, you're just moving from the wrist down. Okay, and this really comes into effect with warm-ups, which I'll show you later on, but it helps you control the stick as well as build up the muscles in your arms. Later on we'll develop throwing in those fingers to get the rolls going. And then whenever we actually start applying everything to the drum set, you're obviously going to start putting your arm into it, okay? But all the principles are going to stay the same. You want to keep those palms down, holding the drumstick on the same spot, and then hitting the drum just off center, okay? So now we got how we're holding the sticks, where we're hitting each drum, okay? And now we're going to focus on the foot. There's two main theories of playing the bass drum, okay? One is heel up and heel down. Heel down, it's a little more relaxed on your body, but you don't get nearly the power or the punch behind the drum, the stroke. Okay? Whenever you go heel up, this is the way I prefer, and there's a few benefits to playing heel up. When you lift your heel up, you are now able to put a little bit of force behind it. So now with heel down, you got maybe this. Now with heel up, you really lay into it and get a rock solid sound out of that bass drum. Okay? Also, with heel up, later on, whenever you start doing double strokes with your bass drum, you're going to see I on the bass drum pedal, okay? You can't do that when your heel's down. You're just trying to get two separate individual strokes, and it's really tough, especially at faster tempos. So whenever you're starting off to practice, I want you to go ahead and play heel up. You place your foot not all the way up. You'll see the shape of the pedal. You don't want it to mimic, you don't want to put your foot right in the middle of the shape of that pedal. You want to pull it back just a little bit so your toes are about a quarter of the way back from that length of that whole pedal. Just go ahead and bring it about 25% back. That way you're hitting the sweet spot of the pedal. You got your heel up. Nice and strong notes, and you got everything controlled, and you're practicing the right way from the beginning. Just because I'm so comfortable with it, I do the same thing with my hi-hat. Pull it back a little bit, but I play heel up on that too. That's not as crucial. You can play around with it. Like I said, a lot of this is comfort level. So whatever makes you comfortable, if you can pull off the notes and everything's heel down, then rock and roll, all right? But this is the way I play, and this has served me well for a couple of decades now. So heel up on the bass drum, sticks just off center. We got our 9 degrees, right? Okay. Now we're ready to play some drums. All right. So just for instance, if we did a right left foot all the way around the drums, this is how I would want you to play it correctly. Okay. Simple. That's it. All right. If you got any questions, go ahead and shoot me another video or type me a post. All right. Thanks a lot. And there's your beginning basic drums. Now go practice that and check out some of the other videos. Thanks a lot.